Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to be looking at, what medical education might look like in the next few years. We've got some really interesting ideas here.
It is a fascinating time to be in medicine. The pace of change is so fast. I think medical education has to keep up to make sure that folks are ready.
Yeah, and one of the things that this expert is predicting is a move away from, knowing all the facts and calling for competency-driven education.
Yeah.
So what does that really mean, for someone in residency or even, someone who's already a doctor?
I think it's a pretty big change. In the past, medical school and all that was about just packing as much information in your brain as possible. But I think now, with so much information available everywhere, it's less about what you know and more about what you can do with that knowledge.
Right.
Competency-based learning is really about being able to apply information in real-world situations, think critically, and solve problems.
So less about, every muscle in the body and more about how to actually use that information.
Absolutely, you got it. It's about, going beyond rote memorization and moving towards, developing the skills that make a physician great clinical reasoning, communication adaptability, leadership stuff that you can't really get from a textbook.
Yeah, for sure. And so how do we teach those kinds of skills? Because a multiple choice exam isn't really going to cut it anymore.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So we're seeing this big shift towards assessments that kind of mirror real-world practice. So things like simulations, working with standardized patients, portfolio-based assessments where students can show their skills over time.
Yeah, I can see how that would be much more valuable for students and educators.
Uh-huh.
Let's talk about technology. This expert is predicting some pretty amazing advancements in how technology is going to be a part of medical education in the next few years.
Yeah, it's not just about using new gadgets and stuff. It's about using technology to make really effective learning experiences.
Yeah.
And I think one of the coolest things is personalized adaptive learning, or PL.
Okay, I've heard of that, but I don't really know what it is. Can you break that down? What is PL and how does it work?
So imagine a learning platform that's basically like a personal tutor you have all the time.
Okay, yeah.
PLL uses all these fancy algorithms to look at students' strengths, weaknesses, and how they learn best. And then it changes the content and how fast they go through it all.
So it's like the curriculum changes for you instead of you having to change for the curriculum.
Yeah, you got it. It's all about maximizing efficiency, making sure that, everyone has the support to succeed no matter how they learn.
That's incredible. So you're saying if I was struggling with cardiology, the system would be like, oh, they need more cardiology stuff. Or maybe slow down a bit.
Exactly. It can even point you to other resources like articles or videos that are, really tailored to you.
Wow, that's amazing. And, this expert isn't just talking about AI for personalized learning, but they're predicting AI being a part of healthcare itself.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about a world where AI isn't replacing doctors, but working with them to diagnose, treat and even educate patients.
Okay, so medical students are going to need to be trained not just to understand the AI systems, but to actually work with them.
For sure. It's a totally new way of thinking about how doctors and patients interact with AI being this third part in the room, providing insights and recommendations based on tons of data.
So we need to be able to use the power of AI, but still keep that human connection that's so important with patients.
Absolutely.
It sounds like we need a massive change in how we think about medical education, how we teach it and what we teach.
You're telling me you can't just, add a couple technology courses and call it a day.
Right.
We have to rethink the whole thing from scratch so we can prepare students for this rapidly changing healthcare world.
And, this expert is talking about a faster, more responsive approach to developing the curriculum.
Yeah, traditionally medical school curriculum has been super slow to change.
Yeah.
It takes years to make updates.
Right.
But the world's changing so fast. New discoveries are being made all the time. We can't be slow anymore.
So they're calling for a more dynamic and, non-linear way of making the curriculum where we can, keep adding new knowledge.
Yeah, we need to be able to bring in the latest breakthroughs, technology, and even societal changes almost as they're happening.
Wow. So it's like a living, breathing curriculum.
You got it. One that changes to meet the needs of the students and the healthcare system.
So I'm guessing this is going to need way more, collaboration between schools, researchers, and even doctors out there.
Yeah, it can't just be, people in universities telling students what they need to know.
Right.
It has to be everyone working together, to figure out what medical education needs to be.
Right. So I'm starting to get the big picture, but let's, zoom in a bit on how technology can really make this happen.
Great.
What are some specifics?
Okay, so One area where we're seeing a lot of cool stuff is in these personalized education chatbots.
Chatbots, like the things that pop up on websites.
Yeah, same idea, but imagine one just for medical students. They can answer your questions about the coursework, give you feedback, even connect you with experts in your field.
So it's like having a 24/7 tutor right in your pocket.
Exactly, and they can even learn how you learn best and change their responses, to fit you.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing what else is out there.
Well, one of the most interesting things, I think, is this idea of self-monitoring AI algorithms.
What?
Basically, they can look at their own performance and, figure out how to get better and even update their own code.
So it's like AI that learns and adapts on its own.
Yeah, it's kind of like a medical textbook that's always updating itself with the latest research and knowledge.
Wow, so students and even doctors would always have the newest information.
It's all about making medical education, really efficient, effective, and personalized.
This is all very exciting, but I bet some people are feeling a bit overwhelmed too.
Yeah, the pace of change is crazy sometimes, but I think the important thing is to, be open to new things.
Yeah, so what would you tell someone who's maybe a little intimidated by all these changes? A medical student resident or even a practicing doctor?
Stay curious, stay engaged, and don't stop learning. The future of medicine is full of crazy opportunities, but it needs all of us to be, adaptable and keep learning.
I love that. And I think it's important to remember, that everyone is in this together.
Yeah.
The challenges in healthcare are really complex, and we need everyone to be part of the solution. Students, educators, doctors, everyone.
I think that's right. By working together, we can use all these advancements to make a future of medicine that is more personalized, equitable, and really more human.
So we've talked about all these changes coming to medical education, but what does that actually look like, in real life? How do we actually, put these innovations into practice in medical schools and residency programs?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? It's one thing to talk about it, but another to actually do it. And I think one of the hardest parts is going to be changing the curriculum in med schools to include all these new skills and technologies.
Yeah, it sounds like a huge job. Where do we even start?
Well, I think a good place to start is, bringing in more hands-on learning, less about lectures and more about actually using what, in real-world situations. Simulations are going to be really important for that.
So you're talking about those VR and AR simulations we talked about.
Exactly. Those let students practice everything from basic stuff to really complex surgeries in a safe environment. They can mess up, learn from it, and, get better without actually putting a patient at risk.
So it's like a flight simulator, but for doctors.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're not just for learning, technical stuff. They can be used for communication, teamwork, even making tough decisions.
So like a student could practice having a difficult conversation with a patient, or, figuring out a tricky ethical thing all in this simulated world.
Exactly. It's all about making the learning experience feel as real as possible.
That's really cool. And what about that personalized adaptive learning, the PL thing? How do we bring that into medical schools?
Well, we have to change how we think about making the curriculum. Instead of everyone doing the same thing, we need to make individual paths that change based on the student's needs and how they learn best.
Okay, so no more everyone reading the same textbook and going at the same speed.
Right. Imagine each student having their own, dashboard that shows their progress, highlights where they need help, and suggests things for them to do based on their goals.
That sounds awesome, but how do we keep all that personalization from being too much for students and teachers?
That's where the tech comes in. AI can handle all that data and personalize the experience without overloading the teachers. It's like having a virtual TA who helps each student on their journey through med school.
I'm starting to see how all this fits together. So we're talking about a more dynamic and responsive approach to medical education.
Right.
Really tailored to each student and driven by data and technology.
That's it. It's about moving away from just listening to lectures and, towards this more active and personalized experience.
And what about AI actually being used in healthcare? How do we prepare med students to work with these systems?
That's huge. We need to teach them about AI from the beginning. They need to understand how it works, what it can and can't do, and how to use it, safely and ethically in real-life situations with patients.
So it's not just about knowing how to use one specific tool, but really understanding, what AI means for healthcare and the relationship between doctors and patients.
Absolutely. We need them to be able to think critically about AI's recommendations, spot any biases, and, ultimately use AI to help them make better decisions, not replace their judgment.
So we're talking about a fundamental change in how we think about the role of the doctor. in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we need to train doctors who are not just experts in their field, but, they need to be great communicators, work well with others, and be comfortable with all this new technology.
And we can't forget about, the human side of medicine.
Right.
With all this technology, how do we make sure that empathy and, that connection between doctor and patient stays at the heart of it all?
We need to figure out how to use technology so that it makes that connection even stronger.
So using tech to be more efficient, get more information, but always remembering that the patient is a person, not just data.
Exactly. We need to teach students how to use technology to build better relationships with their patients, to communicate better, and, provide really personalized and compassionate care.
It's a tough balance, but
Yeah.
I think we can do it if we're careful about how we bring technology into medical education.
I agree. And it's not just what we teach, but how we teach it. We need to create a learning environment that makes people curious, makes them want to work together, and, really emphasizes that human side of medicine.
So we're really talking about a big change to medical education going way beyond just updating what's in the textbooks.
Yeah, it's about changing the whole culture of how doctors are trained to make it more, adaptable and innovative and really focused on people.
So we talked about med schools. What about residency programs?
Yeah.
How do all these changes apply to doctors who are already out there, learning on the front lines?
Residency programs face a lot of the same challenges and, opportunities. They'll need to change their training to include all these new skills and technologies and make sure that residents have the support they need to succeed in this crazy world.
It sounds tough. Where do they even start?
I think it's important to give residents lots of chances to actually use these technologies hands-on, things like simulations, VR training, or even working in places that use telehealth and AI.
So actually using the tech in a real setting, not just reading about it.
Yeah. And it's not just about the technical skills. It's about helping them develop those critical thinking skills so they can, understand the limits of technology and use it responsibly.
So we're talking about a pretty big change in how residency programs are run.
For sure, it's not just about adding a few new lectures. It's about creating a culture of always learning and trying new things, where residents are encouraged to explore new technologies, ask questions, and, not be afraid to challenge the way things are done.
And how do we make sure they're not overwhelmed by all these changes, on top of the already tough workload and pressure?
That's super important. We need to give them the support they need to handle all this, whether it's through mentors, support groups, or even mental health resources.
So it's a more holistic approach, focusing not just on the clinical stuff, but also on, their well-being and making sure they're growing as doctors.
Absolutely. We need to create a training environment that's both challenging and supportive, one that prepares them for the real world of medicine, but also helps them grow personally and professionally.
Okay, so we've covered med schools and residency programs, but what about doctors who are already out there practicing? How can they keep up with all this and, use it in their work?
Lifelong learning is going to be more important than ever. We need to create a culture where doctors are always learning about new things, new technologies, and, changing how they practice to keep up with the latest advancement.
Yeah, but how do busy doctors find the time and resources for all that? It's not like they can just go back to school.
I know it's tough, but there's more and more stuff out there to help doctors keep learning. Online courses, webinars, conferences. There are tons of ways to stay up to date without having to leave your practice.
So we're talking about a real shift in how the whole medical profession thinks about learning. Where learning and trying new things is valued throughout a doctor's entire career.
Exactly. Healthcare is changing faster and faster. So to keep up, we need doctors who are adaptable, curious, and always learning.
Okay, so we've talked about all these mind-blowing changes coming to medical education, but what does it all mean for the future of healthcare? Like the big picture stuff.
That's the real question, isn't it? It's not just about, teaching doctors in a new way. It's about getting ready for a future where healthcare looks totally different.
Yeah. So where do we even begin? What are some of the, the biggest changes you see happening as all this stuff takes off?
Well, I think one of the most important changes will be a move towards truly personalized medicine.
Oh.
We're already seeing a bit of that now, but imagine a world where every single patient's treatment plan is made just for them, based on their genes, lifestyle, even their preferences.
Wow. So no more, one-size-fits-all treatments. Every patient gets something unique.
Exactly. And to do that, you need doctors who are okay with working with tons of data, who can, understand complex genetic information, and who can work with AI to make those personalized plans.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like a pretty big challenge for doctors who are used to doing things the old way.
Oh, it's a big shift for sure. Doctors are going to have to be way more comfortable with technology, with analyzing data, and with working as part of a team that includes not just other healthcare people, but also AI.
It's almost like we're talking about a totally new kind of doctor.
Yeah, in a way, I think that's right. The doctors of the future will have to be amazing clinicians, but also, great communicators, team players, and always learning because things are changing so fast.
And what about the patients? How is all this going to affect, their experience with healthcare?
Well, I think we'll see healthcare become much more focused on the patient,
Yeah.
where patients are encouraged to, take charge of their own health. With all this personalized information, remote monitoring tools, and AI assistance, patients will have more control than ever before.
So it's less about, just doing what the doctor says and more about being involved in your own care.
That's it. And I think that's a really good thing. When patients are more involved, it usually means better results, lower costs, and they're happier with the healthcare system overall.
That's great. But are there any, potential downsides to all of this? What are some of the, challenges we need to be thinking about?
One of the biggest challenges, I think, will be making sure that everyone has access to these advancements. We can't have a situation where only certain people can get the benefits of, personalized medicine or AI healthcare tools.
Right. So we need to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to benefit from this new stuff, regardless of, their background or where they live.
Exactly. It's super important that we think about these issues of fairness from the beginning.
And what about privacy? With all this talk about personalized medicine and AI looking at our health data, how do we keep that information safe?
Data privacy is absolutely essential. We need strong systems to protect patient information and make sure it's only used for the right reasons and with the patient's permission. This needs both technological solutions, but also, clear ethical guidelines and laws.
Sounds like there's a lot to figure out as we move towards this future of healthcare.
Oh, there are definitely challenges, but I'm also really optimistic. I think we have an amazing chance to change healthcare for the better, improve how we care for patients and create a system that's fairer and, better for everyone in the long run.
That's a really inspiring vision, but it sounds like it's going to take a lot of work and collaboration from everyone involved. From medical schools to tech companies to the government.
Absolutely. This isn't something one group can do alone. It's going to take all of us working together.
So what can our listeners do to be a part of this? What actions can they take, whether they're med students, doctors, or just people who care about healthcare?
The most important thing is to stay informed. Keep learning about these changes, join conversations about the ethics and the impact on society, and push for policies that support innovation, but also protect privacy and fairness.
So don't be afraid to ask questions and speak up about your concerns.
Exactly. And if you're a med student or resident, embrace these changes. Be curious, be proactive, and look for chances to learn about and experience these new technologies. The future of healthcare really is in your hands.
And if you're already a doctor, don't let these changes scare you. Embrace lifelong learning, connect with colleagues who are doing cool new things, and find ways to use these technologies in your own practice to help your patients.
This is a really exciting time to be in healthcare. Let's all work together to make sure these changes create a healthier and more equitable future for everyone.
That's a great way to put it. Thank you so much for joining us on this, exploration of the future of medical education and healthcare.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
We hope this has, sparked your curiosity and got you thinking about what's possible. The future of healthcare is being shaped right now, and we all have a part to play.
So stay engaged, stay curious, and let's keep talking about all this.
That's right. Until next time, keep learning, keep innovating, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in medicine.